Well, so we're still on the AM show, and we're doing the budget edition because the budget is being read today at exactly 10 o'clock. Well, the finance minister will be in Parliament, and I'm sure that he will kickstart the reading of the budget. Issues of revenue and issues of spending, issues relating to tax reduction or tax increments, and of course, exactly how does the ordinary person feel all of this in their pockets is the focus of discussion and interest by many Ghanaians. I'm here in the studio with Henry Trema. He's a policy analyst and graduate student of the University of Tokyo. He's also the co-founder of I Watch Africa. And myself, my name is Odilia. Henry, government has been talking about, well, really trimming down on spending and, of course, keeping the deficit in check, because that's actually what affects all our international ratings and, of course, puts us back into the arms of the IMF and indeed drags us back as a nation. Exactly where should government's focus in terms of trimming down be in 2019, especially when government has made a lot of promises and we're just a year away from elections?
I think there's a need for us to look at expenditure rationalization. It is difficult because you have three major items of compensation of employees.
That's right.
Consuming about 40%, and you have interest payment.
That's right.
And then you have transfer to subvented agencies and the DACA. It is difficult not to say you're not going to pay your interest payments in the same way you can say you're not going to pay salaries. But I think inherent in some of these areas are quite significant challenges. So payroll audit is quite important.
That's right.
To revenue expenditure rationalization. There's also the need for us to ensure that some of the projects that really do not give us value, the disbursements are done in such a way that you don't accumulate so much debt so that your interest payment increases. So it will require innovativeness in expenditure to be able to say that you're not going to increase taxes to increase revenue.
One of the huge areas has really been the free SHS,
Yes.
Which is really taking a toll on the little money that is left after making these statutory payments at the end of every year. Now, exactly, many people have been speaking about the fact that, look, let's get our acts together. The free SHS shouldn't be free for everybody. There's been the discussion. What are you expecting Ken to look at in relation to free SHS? Because it's not helping anybody to do any developments apart from the educational sector.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, the spending on education is likely to go up from the numbers some of us are hearing and seeing. It's because we have more people now wanting to go to school, and it has a long-term benefit. In the short term, it has a huge cost implication. So there's a trade-off, and like I always say, government is about choices, and the choices also have consequence. And I think this government is determined to carry on with the free SHS, regardless of the costs and the political implications of it. But the truth is that in the long term, the benefits to this country is going to be enormous, because you're going to have educated group of population that you will not be susceptible to many of the things that we are susceptible to as a country, and you're likely to have them. The ripple
discerning electorates who will make proper decisions.
And, I mean, even the middle level job, going to have efficiency gain accruing at that level. So the free SHS in itself in the long term is going to be beneficial, but we need to still think through with the financing of it. And I think that a beneficiary paying for it in itself is also good. So for instance, once you leave the system and you go to university, we should have a way of tracking these people who are benefiting today, so that when they start working, they can start contributing towards a fund that will fund the new crop of students that will be under the program. So I call it a beneficiaries pay system, and I'm likely to have a couple of discussions on this to see. And just last week, there was a forum where every Ghanaian think that the rich should
be paying something. Yeah.
You know,
but I mean, isn't the rich being overtaxed already? Yes. So, for example, the rich should be having some benefits also. Yes. Now. You remember the taxes that were put on luxury cars, for example. Income taxes yes. Have gone up so high. When you pick your salary, about 35% of it, or quite a huge figure, is going into tax payments.
Income tax. Yes, it's true. And even another challenge is, how do you define who a rich person is? Yeah. What kind of threshold are you, what kind of benchmarks are you going to put in place to say that this person is a rich man or a rich woman? It's a very difficult thing. And yes, targeting is a very good policy, and I support targeted approach to some of these social interventions. But it is difficult doing. And that is why there should be a system where the beneficiaries, when they start working, should start contributing towards a scheme of sustaining the policy.
The policy,
yes.
Yeah. When you take a look at issues relating to which sectors were supposed to have contributed to revenue, the services sector should have contributed a lot more. But it's stated in the 2018 budget that there were shortfalls, and the problem was coming from the services sector. Yes. I think that one of the areas, of course, that we should be looking at really when it comes to revenue is the Ghana Revenue Authority itself in revenue collection. Yes. By July, they were short by about 3 billion cedis as in targets, revenue targets, and we're not reaching them. Exactly how can we make Ghana Revenue Authority efficient to be able to take the taxes from everybody? Because that's always been the issue.
I like the point that you've made. Ghana Revenue Authority for some time now, I think for the past 5 years, has been going through modernization. So there has been a program supported by our development partners, the German government, the World Bank, trying to modernize the systems. And you agree with me that the coming together of all the agencies was part of the reform in ensuring that there's efficiency. However, there seems to be a bit of still inefficiencies within the system. There are a couple of loopholes, and in my opinion, I thought that the digitalization of the system and removing the human factor from the processes in itself was also going to help. But you will still need human in some way, somehow, to get the systems running. There is a need for us to enhance the digitalization system so as to ensure that the corruption, the perceived corruption within the system is minimized. Without that, it is going to be very difficult for the agency to meet its targets. And it will remain a critical factor in our revenue mobilization drive.
That's right.
If we because tax revenue to GDP is abysmally low.
That's right.
If you look at it in terms of oil exporting countries, Ghana's tax revenue is abysmally low, and there's a need for us to rethink seriously as a country on how do we get the Ghana Revenue Authority and on all the other agencies mobilizing resources to be efficient. Another area we often don't look at is a non-tax revenue angle. The fees that are collected at the courts, at the Lands Commission and other places. To what extent are we efficient in collecting them? And where does the money ends up?
Yeah.
There is a need for us to look into the non-tax revenue angle. I strongly believe that we could enhance efficiency in there, and then we can mop up a lot of resources.
One area I have been also thinking that we should really take a look at is the area of property tax. But before then, let's quickly go take some more information. We'll be back. Ahead of the 2019 budget presentation in Parliament today, the minority is predicting an introduction of new taxes. The new taxes, according to the minority spokesperson on finance, Cecil Ato-Forson, will be finance ministry's solution to bringing the gaping fiscal deficit. What is your understanding of the budget and the other government policies? Roland Walker has been speaking to some traders at Mokola.
Sani yesi ton nyama nso te se nkofu badwom no mutimi ton nyama ohwa honestly
de anya kura se se de market enye ye bre ntimma buaya
sa na moka mo de temia ye ba na sa
ya bro ya nto ade ma ye eti enya aduane ni.
So I asked her if sales are better in terms of the amount that she makes in a day. And she says that, of course, the market women tend to have that response as a trend, that the last year was better than this year. Into because last year, na say ejuma me member marketer maybe say dwadifo ne say whether motade o compare last year ni this year marketer me say this year ne ye chen last year da adint na ya mo te sa
afidi enye
wo ho wo hwa adentra
sika ni ho sika edwema ya sika ni ho niam na bebu su sika ni ho ntiama ye nto ade.
So we were speaking to Auntie Juliana Apia, also sells the market. But if you go forward, you get to have those who tend to retail grains. But among the food baskets, if you take a look at what the variables are used in the calculation in the various sectors for the inflationary trend by the Statistical Service, you tend to have non-food and food. And usually the prices of food it's a key component. Now, when we ask them what the trend is, they will get to know whether there's a certain trend. Many of these market women source their credits or money for trading from the financial institutions in your trade.
Ahe no kodoko ni emo ya no ahe ni ko wojala obata sian o ska fe ta yewe wo pe no kodoko yewe
fa na agbere wa free SHS wo pay school fees ba
one pay me be your form 3 me pay free me free SHS me free SHS me o fa me pay.
Auntie Hannah is just not bemused at all with the state of the trend by which we have prices and goods and services increasing. More so, she feels that we don't have the numbers coming into the market as they should. She's been selling at the Makola market for the last 30 years. What would you say about the prices of the things that you sell in terms of noni oho in amo where do you get this one from?
Togo.
Republic of Togo.
Togo.
Mini was ani washi Ghana ni waya Togo dan wo ba he amo ni wo ba ho ye Ghana.
Bianto no Ghana no e bonko ba e ba se bako. Wo yo Togo no wo feel.
So you sell tomatoes coming from Togo?
Yeah.
Tomatoes within the year?
Kumase, Togo, French, Burkina.
Okay. So sometimes you get some supplies from Kumase, I'm sure from Bono and the rest. And then you get it also from Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso. Tomatoes?
Yes.
But meanwhile, planting for only actually planting for food and jobs.
That be
government if no koni agbene aduning pi your farms. Well, I get tomatoes can be fair yabi olelo.
Over the nui.
No, ehani tomatoes it's any prices eba down. Prices eba shipo.
Ebongo ba. None wa be an jalawa.
No, okay, mommy. How much do you buy? And then what's the trend now for compared to last year?
Biantone, we here 12 million French. French about 12 million.
So you are talking about tomatoes coming from the Francophone countries. You buy it 1,200.
1 p now.
So the trend is that we've had increase in the prices of even the tomato that is coming from the various Francophone countries, where we have Burkina Faso and the other Francophone countries. We have the Republic of Togo, and we have to go there, trek several kilometers outside our borders to bring tomatoes, just basic tomatoes. And of course, sometimes we're able to get some from the Bono and the Ashanti regional areas, but usually we know that they are not high-growing tomato areas. So it's affected the prices. I want to ask Madam Ashite, if we want to reduce the prices, prices down alo abache no sani wo fe ole no ko ye helo because of the increment in transport.
Togo shika na make here. Waka make bagana shika bagbi ochi.
Okay, so the influence of the forex market, the CD against the CFA, it also has an influence.
Okay. No, we ni kona chena hawo. Kono wa Ghana shika ka bashi pe. Ama me no ba bashi ke what ejala bashi. Si bi antone be ni shika yo nwe waka make be jala wa.
I see.
Ghana no ko be.
But if the economy is doing well, inflation, according to Bank of Ghana, Finance Ministry, economy ni bi yano.
Beje wojela name wojela mi ele wompi. Ni bi jala we ha wo. Ka wo ho ni e se.
Also, we also have an artisan at Swami Magazine on their expectation on the budget. Here's Prince Apia with the updates.
The 2018 budget was expected to bring a lot of hope, especially for businesses and artisans here at the Swami Magazine enclave. But what came out was the need for taxes to come down, especially on spare parts and other imports. The 2019 budget is a few days ahead, and we want to find out from the artisans whether the expectations remain the same on spare parts and imports, or it has changed for something else. The government should also consider Ghana National Association of Garages in terms of this budget is making. You should at least allocate a small percentage for the association to also train our youth coming to meet up the expectation, because new technology is coming. So if our youth are not trained to meet up that expectation, it will come to a time that our idea will be archaic. And without the support, we cannot do that, because these diagnostic machines, they cost a lot, and training a person for a month or two will also cost. So we expect the government will at least reconsider things and allocate us a percentage in this newly budget that is coming.
We, the artisans of magazine, we expect nothing but the best, and we have a problem which now doesn't make our work attractive anymore, because when you need a loan, all the banks they give loans to only government workers, or how do you call it, the workers in the formal sector, but doesn't give loans to the informal sector. So it has become a problem for us. When we need loans, we don't have it. We have no way to access any loan from any bank. Also, for this reason, our business is no more attractive. Government to make allocation for we the artisans, so that our businesses will be attractive.
I import spare parts from outside the country. We want government to reduce the import duties. That is all we are expecting in this budget. Government should reduce the import duties at the ports.
Economists are worried the country's debt stock may go up if government doesn't change its huge expenditure patterns. The country's current debt stock is at 159.4 billion, with government failing to achieve its revenue target for 2018. Speaking on PM Express, senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Lloyd Benson, told Aisha Ibrahim the current spending pattern of government will cripple the country's economy.
Yeah. And then also looking at the tenure that we borrow, maximum we've had is 15 years in terms of the number of years that we borrow funds. And the effective time to maturity of this borrowing is about 7 years, for which, you know, the investor knows that he settled himself. If you don't pay the principal, he's okay. Right. But then if you issue 100 years bond, I can tell you that it's more or less a perpetuity. And the effective time to maturity of that bond is just 13 years. So if you can borrow 15 years, why then do you extend to 100 years for which you come and overburden generations? So I believe that the government for now cannot do away with borrowing. But then we need to be circumspect. I mean, when it comes to usage of the funds that comes to us, we should understand the dynamics. We compare ourselves to America. America
is uncomparable.
You can't compare. So at the end of the day, we can go ahead to borrow. But then for me, we need to understand, you know, that when you borrow, you place it in productive areas so that you can pay back. Possibly it's between, you know, taxes and then, you know, what do you call it? Borrowing externally or internally. When you borrow internally and your economy is not productive, you can cripple the economy.
Well, so we're back with Henry to further discuss issues relating to the budget as we wait to cross over to Parliament to speak with Kojo Yankson. Well, Henry, so issues relating to the deficit is what Dr. Lloyd Benson has also been worried about. The fact that, look, we've got to tighten up. But the thing is, if we continue tightening up, the economy becomes tight. The private sector cannot really thrive. But we definitely have to do some spending, isn't it?
Sure. I mean, for spending, every government will spend. I mean, you need to spend, especially when you have infrastructure deficit in a country like Ghana. So spending itself is not a problem. Creating deficit in itself is not a problem. The problem is what you spend the money on.
And whether we will have benefits
going forward. And whether those projects will be able to repay itself. So in the past, we have done projects that could have paid for itself, but we're not interested in ensuring that those projects pay for itself. And I think what the Ministry of Finance is doing is ensuring that projects that has a potentiality of repaying itself, actually, there's an the on-length arrangement in place so that such projects actually begins to pay for itself. Without that, you are going to increase your spending and nothing comes in. We need to begin to make sure that some of the projects that really have potential of paying back itself pays back the loans that the government is contracting for some of these projects. For spending, it would go up, especially that there's an infrastructure drive of government going forward.
Hold your thoughts right there. Let's cross over to Parliament, where Kojo Yankson is standing by with Joe Jackson, businessman and COO of Dalex Finance, and Dr. Sapon Smart. He's a senior research fellow, Institute of Research, Innovation and Development.